So welcome to Community Transformation Staten Island. My name is Chad Reyes. This is my illustrious, illustrious wife, Danielle Reyes. And we are excited to share with you about Community Transformation Staten Island. And we're going to share tonight our heart with you around community transformation. We're going to share with you how we got to community transformation. And then we're going to explain what community transformation is and then how you can get involved. So to get started, on the screen here, you see a quote. And, you know, John Maxwell is an amazing leader, a friend of ours, a mentor to Danielle and I. And he says every day people are asking him, how did they make this world better? And I think through COVID-19, I'm sure you're asking yourself the same question. And we've been asking ourselves that question. And he says the answer is always this: start by improving yourself. Because when we grow, everyone else around us grows. And when we change, everyone else around us changes. So tonight we're going to share about community transformation, but I want you to remember that community transformation first begins with us and then others.
The famous quote actually applies here perfectly. It says, "Be the change you want to see."
Yep. So we are excited. We're going to share a little bit of a video because many people may know John or know of John, but some people don't. So we're going to have a little video that kind of just gives a little insight into who he is, and then we'll continue from there.
What I want you to understand is growth is a catalyst for the success of your life. You got to stop thinking, can I? And start thinking, how can I? So everybody faces the difficulties. It's inevitable. But the option of learning, now that's a choice.
I don't promise you it will be easy, but I do promise you it will be worthwhile. Remember this: growth precedes greatness.
So that's a little bit about John, and my wife's going to share a little bit about how we met John, how we got to this point today, because I think it's really important. I know many people are going to want to know, like, how did Community Transformation Staten Island come about from a gentleman who's a global leadership icon, and how did we get to that point? And she's just going to kind of walk us through that journey.
Yes, I am going to make a very long story short. So it's been a year and a half, but it has been an impactful year and a half. We met John at an event in September 2019. And shortly after we met John, we had such a connection. We ended up flying out the next month in October and started meeting him at events and having meetings with him. And he became a true friend and mentor of ours. And that is actually a picture in October of 2020, a whole year later, that he pulled us over and was like, okay, let's talk about Staten Island. And what's amazing about this picture is, number one, a stranger had taken that photo, which was actually pretty cool because that was so in the moment.
Yep.
And the other part is, he chose Staten Island. This is not something that Chad and I went after. He was just so intrigued about Staten Island and he wanted to come alongside us. So that's what led us here today. We have a very lengthy story, and anybody who wants to hear it, and some of you have, we'd be more than happy to share it. But this is where we are, and this is how this incredible opportunity came about. And now we'll just go into really what community transformation is and why we were picked.
Yeah, and one of the things to remember here is that community transformation, Carolina and her team have been doing country transformation for years now, and million plus lives have been impacted. But Staten Island has the opportunity to be one of the very first communities to do community transformation. And one of the things I really got to share from my heart when we were with John one of the first times is, on my heart was to see the United States changed, to see something shift. And I think you and I would both agree that something needed to change in our nation. And I really believe, and John and my wife, that this has the ability to make lasting change. And the reason being is because it always begins inside the heart. You see, John says this all the time. He says that you could put all the rules in place, you could put all the laws in place. But if you don't have a shift in values and you don't have positive values, you'll figure out how to get around those laws. So today we're going to be talking about values, and that leads me to the next part, right? Is how does transformation happen? How does transformation happen? So the first, if you look on it, transformation happens being a waterfall, a top-down, meaning people with influence help create transformation in their community. And then you go to a ladder. It's bottom up, where you take people who may not have the resources or the access to some of the things that some of us have been blessed to have, and you give them it, and you encourage them. So you go from top down, bottom up, and you start reaching the people. The next is a heart, inside out. It embraces values. Like I said before, if the heart doesn't change, nothing changes.
So John said he was going down, especially the season we just came from, right? And he's like, this is not a political issue. This is not a race issue. These are not all the issues that we foresee in the world right now. This is a heart issue. And this is what we're looking to do, is we're looking to change the hearts of people so that we can change our community.
Yep. And when the heart changes, the hands change. Many of you know I talk about 4 H's, the hand, the head, the heart, and the habits of a leader. But none of the other ones change without the heart changing. So that's part of how transformation happens. Then you join hands, and that's the purpose of why you're listening to this video right now, is joining hands, where we go side by side and we partner together, right? The fifth is a table, and we're going to be talking about what these transformation tables look like and how you can get involved in them. But it's where few to many, where it enables growth, because you start changing and you start seeing things differently, and the lens that you look at life starts changing. And then the last is a bridge, where it leads to transformation, because you're able to go from where we are to where we want to be, right? So that's how transformation happens. We're going to go a little bit further into that. But for the next 2 minutes or so, we're going to watch a video, and this video is going to share about transformation tables and how they could be used. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and then I'm going to start sharing again. Share the screen. All right. And I want to make sure we can watch that video.
Yeah.
All right. There we go.
Why are well-educated, intelligent people struggling to succeed in the workplace or university setting? Being taught leadership and putting it into practice are two different things. John C. Maxwell believes that leading oneself well is the most challenging aspect of leadership. The process of developing soft skills like integrity, listening, attitude, initiative, and personal growth is a great start to leadership development, but a methodology that emphasizes personal reflection and a weekly action step increases the effectiveness. The Transformation Tables methodology is incredibly successful in this regard because its very format sets the scene for a different type of engagement with growth. The Transformation Tables method uses a peer-to-peer small group design where everyone participates, calls for personal reflection that drives one small positive change each week, meets weekly for 1 hour, is facilitated rather than taught, and has a multiplying effect. The format puts every participant on equal ground. Each person in the group is expected to participate, and their voice is wanted and needed to optimize the development experience. Instead of communication being one way, it is a group participation activity which reinforces the learning process. What do transformation tables look like in most communities? A leader chooses to participate in and deploy transformation tables as a leadership development tool. Consistency compounds as the result of weekly positive action steps begin to add up. Families, workplaces, and communities are positively impacted. A common language that shapes the community culture is developed, and measurable results that drive positive performance are observed. Simply put, transformation tables change lives from the inside out and produce a ripple effect that can build toward lasting, positive change in all streams of influence.
So these transformation tables, they've been done like I mentioned earlier, in Guatemala, Paraguay, Costa Rica. They're in the process of doing it in Puerto Rico. And what's interesting is you could see on the screen that almost 600,000 people are involved in transformation tables in Guatemala, and almost 1.1 million youth. So you're talking about 1.7 million people in that country. And then you look at Paraguay, close to almost 300,000 transformation tables and 200,000 in the youth program. And Costa Rica, 131,000. The point being is the Maxwell team have been doing this now for 8 years in countries, and now they're doing it in Staten Island. And the best part is you and I get to participate. We get to impact the island that we love and we care about. And, I'm going to share with you that those numbers are staggering. That's that's almost 2.3 million people involved in some form of transformation tables globally. It's amazing. And you have the ability to be involved with us.
Yeah, I want to share. They're doing this in countries and they're seeing such an impact. Actually a few people had said, why can't we do this in the United States of America? And they went to the drawing board and said, well, how can we do that? And that's by doing one community at a time. So we are actually one of the first communities. There's a few other, and we're all coming alongside each other. And thanks to Carolina, she guides us through it. But we are one of the first communities that have been chosen to actually change the United States as the other countries have been changed.
And they say that Toad Hill in Staten Island is one of the highest points on the eastern seaboard. And I believe that Staten Island, which we've been told is the forgotten borough, we are told that nothing good can come from Staten Island, but I believe that Staten Island not only is going to see transformation, but I also believe that Staten Island is going to be a model for the United States of America. And I believe that you're going to want to be involved, because not only are we going to see our community change, but then we're going to be able to be that model to replicate it in other communities so that they can come and say, well, how has Staten Island done it? And
we'll take that challenge on.
We take that challenge on. I know it's a big challenge, but I believe in people. I believe that people have greatness in them. I believe that when you encourage people and you show them that others will come alongside for the ride, that other people will then step up and the greatness that they have inside of them will come out as well. So that's why we're casting vision. We're sharing the vision. We're believing that you're going to want to jump on board, but we're going to continue sharing more about this. And as you can see on the screen, that's the amount of people that are in Staten Island. 476,000 people. And part of Community Transformation Staten Island is that our goal is to get 10% of our population involved in transformation tables. So 10% of our population. Now, we know that's not going to happen overnight. And we know that's going to take tremendous amount of collaboration and partnership. But when hearts change, everything else changes.
What I love about the video that we played with John just at the very beginning, the first video, because it ends on, this is not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
So we know we're going in this knowing it's not going to be easy, but I think collectively, actually I'm believing and knowing collectively it will be worth it.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, many of you who have ever heard me speak, I share about the four types of people. There's subtractors, there are dividers, there are adders, and there are multipliers. And if you take the number 110, let's go through all four examples because I think this will be a perfect example. You take a subtractor, you take 100 minus 10, and their output is 90. You take a divider, and you do 100 divided by 10, and their output is 10. But you take an adder, 100 plus 10, that's 110. But this is the difference when you have multipliers, and I believe that many of you on here are multipliers. You take 100 times 10 and you get 1,000. See, there's a big difference between 10 and 1,000. At 10, it's very difficult to see transformation. But when we find multipliers who multiply more people, now you start getting tremendous movement and growth. And I believe in my heart, and my wife and I have been talking about this, I believe that our community of Staten Island has not only that potential, but I believe we're going to get more than 10%, because I believe that there's a lot of multipliers, and many of you that are on here are multipliers. I know you, I've had relationships with you. My wife and I have been in the community for 20 years nearly. just serving alongside of you. And I believe that John and his team and their process and their meticulous attention to detail will give us the ability to be multipliers in our own community.
We wouldn't have taken on the challenge if we didn't believe that our community could do this.
Yeah. And that leads me to the next part. So these transformation tables, as you saw, are weekly transformation tables, and they go on for 12 weeks. Well, I want to share with you the values, because as a community, these are the values as we went through focus groups, formal, informal surveys, formal and informal interviews.
Yeah.
As we went through that process of gathering data, because we've been doing this for the last 6 months, these are the values that we saw consistently that were being mentioned in all those surveys that we need to focus on in those transformation tables. So the first one is attitude. Your attitude colors everything in your life. The next is personal growth. People who keep learning have a brighter future. Commitment. It separates the doers from the dreamers. Priorities. Clear priorities show you how to do and where to go. Right? Oh, sorry, what to do and where to go. Relationships. The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. I think every person on here is so relationship driven that we could 100% agree with that. Work ethic. Working hard brings in satisfaction every day. Hard work creates satisfaction. Hope. It's amazing. Hope is belief in action. Listening. How important is listening? How important is hearing people? Integrity. You don't get anywhere in life without integrity. You know, the thing about this is I love when John's Maxwell's publisher asked him to write a book on ethics, right? But they actually asked him to write a book on business ethics, and he told him he couldn't do that. And when they said, well, John, why can't you do that? He said, well, I can't write a book on business ethics. I'll write a book on ethics because you're either ethical or you're not. You're not situationally ethical. You either have ethics or you don't have ethics. Valuing people, valuing every person. That's so important to seeing hearts changed and a community changed. Forgiveness. I don't know about you, but I know that there are many things in my life that I had to apply this value of forgiveness to. And for many years I didn't. But forgiveness is so key to seeing transformation. And then the last, and as I mentioned earlier, multiplication. We're looking for people who know how to multiply. People who know how to take the number 10 and 100 and not make it 110, not make it 90, and not make it 10. Multipliers who know how to make it 1,000 because they believe that what flows through them flows out of them. And that's what we're looking for. So I believe you're that person. I believe you have the ability to influence people, to share these principles and values, and to see lasting change in our community that will eventually make it into our nation. So Danielle and I are going to share right now 4 steps to this process. These 4 steps, we've already started many of them because we started it about 6 months ago. We started in September of 2020 working on this and bringing people together. So the first step is engaging the 8 spheres of influence. And as you can see, it's government, business, arts, media, faith, sports, healthcare, and education. You see, lasting change doesn't happen by one. Lasting change happens when all 8 of them can work together and agree. They can lock arm in arm, hand in hand, and say, yeah, we can agree that we want 10% of our community to be involved in these transformation tables. So step 1 is the engagement of all 8 streams. Step 2 is to partner with key community leaders. Many of you on here are key community leaders. Many of the people that will be listening to this video in the future are key community leaders. So there's 3 types of community leaders that we're working with right now as part of the overall governance of this. And the first is cabinet members. This is approximately 16 men and women who want to not only lend their influence, but they want to lend their hands and their time to seeing a positive impact in our community. And we've built out a cabinet of people who want to do that. The second is an advisory board where we'll have about 25 to 30 men and women in those 8 streams of influence that are coming together, that are brainstorming and saying, how can we take this initiative to reach more people to get to that tipping point of 10%? And then the last is the youth committee, because as you're going to hear Danielle and I share in our heart, the youth part of it is a big part of what we felt, what we heard when the surveys came back and when the interviews were done, right? Yeah. So we're building out a whole youth committee specifically for the high school and elementary school to reach these children with these values, because we know that if we don't do generational transformation, then it stops in one generation. But we're talking about generational youth, elementary, high school, business leaders, faith community, you name it, not-for-profit community. Because as John always says, and Danielle and I were at an event October of 2019, and I took a picture. You remember that? I took a picture because I knew we would use it, and it was for today. And that picture was John on there, and he said, a strong partnership divides the work and multiplies the impact. You see, when you have the right people for the right reasons, the impact, it's a multiplication. And we believe many of you today are those people. So step 3 is identifying the transformation, identifying the areas of transformation. So there's 3 areas as a community that all of those surveys and focus groups and everything that was done for a 6-month period of time identified. The first is transformation tables. 10% of the population in Staten Island being involved in those transformation tables. And the thing that I want to share with you today is that most people think that you need 90%. You don't. Every study that I've ever seen shows that the tipping point is 10%, 10% of a company, 10% of an organization, 10% of a not-for-profit, 10% of the government, 10% of the nation, 10% of the community. When 10% buy in, 90% see transformation, 100% see transformation. So the first is 10% in transformation tables.
We also have some transformation tables that we've already started. So
correct.
For anybody who actually wants to hear those stories and how it's been impacting, we can speak more about that too.
Yep. At the end, we're going to show you how you can get involved as well. The second is the earning disparity. And it really has to do with, the earning disparity has to do with graduation rates. And we can talk a little bit more about that if you have questions. There's a slide that'll show you how you can get in touch with us. But it's really about graduation rates. And I think you know, and many of us know, that if a child is not up to proficient reading by a 3rd grade, it changes the course of their life. A lot of this opioid addiction, a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, a lot of suicide rates, all of these things that run rampant through communities, a lot of it has to do with 3rd grade reading levels. So earning disparity around how do we empower our children, our youth, to increase their math and reading levels, to help them get confidence so that they can be the leader in our community. And then the last is opioid crisis. So Community Transformation Staten Island has 2 parts. 10% transformation tables. The second is a common agenda that we could agree on as a community, and that's those 2 parts: the earning disparity due to high school graduation rates and the opioid crisis. So those are the 2 areas that we're going to be focusing on in community transformation and where we're going to need your help. And then lastly...
Yeah, I'm sure I just want to speak on the opioid thing for a moment. I'm sure we can all agree, and most of you, if not all of you, know that Staten Island is the highest per capita in the nation for drug opioid. That study may be a little bit, couple of years behind, but whether it's 2 years ago, 4 years ago, or 10 years ago, for us to be that high, we need change. And I know there's so many people that are doing so many things good. And if we can now be a bridge where people come together and work more collectively together, and to have a gentleman like John Maxwell and his resources and his relationships and their knowledge and tremendous intellectual capital that they have coming alongside our community, guys, I believe anything's possible. Listen, I'm a dreamer.
but I'm a dreamer that has action, and I believe we're going to be able to see tremendous impact in those areas.
There's a quote, he just said it, so there's a quote. I love this quote.
I know you do.
He said, so we were at one of the events and he was on stage, and all I heard him say, he said, please, he's like, dare to dream, but please also do. For dreamers are many, but doers are few.
And we have doers in our community. And the reason why I know that is I know many of you. I spent years with you. The surveys show how our community cares about the community. And this is a platform that we can get behind and we can work together. And I'll tell you this, and I'm going to put this out there. I don't care about the Democrat. I don't care if we're a Republican. I don't care if we're, the political party means nothing. There's one thing that I've been saying to everyone that I speak to about community transformation, and this is it. If you want to see a brighter future for your children, if you want to see a brighter future for your grandchildren, and you want to see a brighter future for your nieces and nephews, and we could agree on that, then we can work together. If we can't agree on that, if we can't agree that we want a brighter future for those three groups that I just mentioned, then we are starting in such radically different positions that we would never be able to. But if we can agree on that, we have the ability to see transformation in our community.
Agreed.
All right.
You almost knocked me out when you said that.
I'm sorry. I'm excited. I'm excited because I really believe we're going to see something amazing in this community. So how do you get involved? The first is knowing that we need you. One is too small of a number for greatness. We need you. We need you. We need your network to be able to come alongside of us and help to see this community changed, and then be able, Staten Island, to be a model for the rest of this nation. How can you get involved? On the screen you'll see it, but I'm going to walk you through it. Join a transformation table. You can go on jmlf.org/Staten Island. Join a transformation table. Some of you may say, I want to start a transformation table. That's the second option. Start a transformation table. Jump right on. You can go on jmlf.org/Staten Island and say, I want to start one. How about this? Bring a transformation table to your company, to your school, to your church, to your XYZ, you name it. Bring a transformation tables. We have Wagner College that is brought in. We have St. John's University that's brought in. Some other major organizations in the community that say, yes, I see the value in this. I want to be behind it. So bring it to your company. Bring it to your organization. Why just think small? Let's think big, guys. Let's see lasting change. But lately I've been feeling this, that we got to ask for bigger. We got to ask for more, because if we ask for small, we get small. But when we ask for big, we get big. And I want to encourage you, ask your company, say, do you want to have these transformation tables in our company? Or if you're the owner of the company, the impact that it'll make to your employees, tremendous. Lastly,
wait, and I just want to add to that. You're not alone either. So we are going to walk alongside the Maxwell Foundation walks along. So we're going to be walking this through. It's a journey together. It's not independent. So we're all in it together. And
correct.
I just thought that was extremely important.
Yep.
As you're not going to be left out in the wind if you take it on.
Yep. And lastly, to my wife's point, become a facilitator. Become a facilitator. We'll train you how to run these transformation tables, and we'll teach you how to go in and then train other facilitators so that we could have a multiplication effect. And this is the thing. There's no fee for this. Nope, no fee. You see, we're not asking for funding on this. We're not asking for you to pay X amount of money per employee. All we're asking for is to jump on in, get involved. We'll give you the resources. We'll give you the ability to see change in your community, change in your company, change in your family. We've seen people already started doing it in their families, where they'll have their families, 6, 7, 8 of their family members get together and go through these transformation tables. We've seen it. We're doing it in our own companies. We're doing it with the cabinet. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be doing it with the Staten Island community. So if you want to become a facilitator, let us know. All the contact information is on that slide. You could also email Anne-Marie at allianceprideleadership.com, or you can go to the website, jmlf.org/Staten Island, and get involved. Jump in.